first question. What are we pricing in here? And I know that's a difficult question, but when you see an 18% drop followed up by a 5% drop this morning, what are we pricing in here? The fines or something much, much bigger?
Well, we've now eliminated about 15 billion euros of market cap, right? In the US, the EPA is talking about a maximum potential fine of up to $18 billion, roughly. So we're pricing that in. I think we don't really price in any contagion effects into other regions or, engines outside of the diesel range. So it's still early days. The market is very nervous here. We don't have enough details. We don't even know whether this has major implications on management within Volkswagen.
Do we know for sure, and can we ever know for sure, that this was just the United States?
Well, it seems like it to me, because the US has the strictest NOx emissions globally. In the US, car makers have to comply with 31 milligram per kilometer compared to 80 milligram in Europe. So it makes it incredibly hard to comply with diesel engines in the US. That's why the market share of diesel is only 0.8% over there. It's more than 50% in Europe. And VW is in a special situation because they've been really pushing smaller engines and smaller cars into the market, and investing all the money for technologies and small cars gets you to the edge of making any money with these products.
The other big question is how much worse this could possibly get for management. Winterkorn, will he get a contract extension? Will he, won't he? And then we'll do the should he, shouldn't he, will he?
Well, I think it's almost impossible for a supervisory board to renew or extend a contract in a situation like this. It's totally unclear who knew what within the company. If management knew that this was going on, which could well be the case, then I think the CEO can't remain in his post.
So I take it from you that he shouldn't remain. Will they allow him to remain, as far as you're concerned?
Well, I think this is about really the supervisory board, with it's the highest group of people that control management, keeping their face. You have politicians sitting on there from Lower Saxony. I think it's very, very difficult for these people to stick to someone who at the end is the chief engineer within the group and who has to take responsibility if things should have been known and well aware within the company.
This is a company that spent an absolute fortune on research and development, and they had to cheat. I've heard some people call this the Lance Armstrong moment for the car industry, the LIBOR moment for the automotive industry. Do you think there is a case of brand contagion, never mind Volkswagen, that this becomes an industry issue very quickly?
Well, firstly, VW is investing more in R&D than any other company globally, in any sector. So you're right. If they can't afford it, how could anyone else? But they've been in the special situation. They dominate more than 50% of the US diesel market. And I think it's really isolated to Volkswagen. Now, the next big thing in Europe will be that Europe will change the test cycles for diesel engines from 2017 to a real-world testing of these cars, and that will then make it more difficult for European companies to comply. So it's a never-ending story. The companies in the automotive industry have to invest more on powertrain technologies, which at the end of the day is good news for suppliers but bad news for OEMs.
Final question for you, Arndt. We have wiped out almost 17 billion euros off the market cap of Volkswagen. We're down almost 22% over the last 2 days. What does this mean for your price target? Can you even have a price target on this company right now?
Well, in these situations, it's really tough for an analyst, right? I have a buy on the stock, so it's very tough, and it's even tougher for shareholders that are invested. We have no clarity what's going to happen here. We really ask management to come up with a plan and to take the right consequences in management. Volkswagen is a big changeover story. It's a restructuring story. We've had these turmoils in management, the battle between the chairman and the CEO, all of this year. All this stuff really has to come to an end in the interest of their workers, their shareholders, and their customers. And this is obviously now extremely painful here.
The final question, I just want to get a bit of insight into the life of an analyst. The news like this drops over the weekend. You've got a buy on the stock, and you maintain a buy on the stock. How do you do that, Arndt? What is the thought process behind that?
Well, you get into the office Monday morning, and the stock will be down. You don't know whether it's going to be 10% or 20%. And you got to ask yourself, well, is this now an interesting entry point? Or, do I have to completely revise my investment case? So my investment case on Volkswagen is that they will use this momentum this year to change management, restructure the company. I think they've hired a great guy to run the VW brand with Mr. Diess from BMW. So I do think VW is a turnaround story. With all these turnaround stories, you have ups and downs. This is an extreme one, but I decided to stick to it because I do think that they will get their act together.